For a matter of this magnitude that has attracted this level of public scrutiny, public attention, including the Houses of Parliament, it is rather obvious that the position that the police DIG occupies is a very senior position. We saw him standing right behind the police IG when they are issuing a presser regarding this. And many people are asking, isn't it simply common courtesy, at least to step aside and allow these investigations to continue? We're not saying he's guilty.
Thank you, Fred. I've actually been thinking about that very question and trying to figure out, because one of the things that we need to deal with at this moment in time is precedent. And what does it mean? I think the complication about DIG Lagat, why there is such a popular, such public pressure for him to resign, is the fact that he's assumed to have influence in the way the investigation is going to go, based on the fact that he is the second person in the police force, being DIG of the National Police Service. And that is what the argument for him to step aside comes from that basis.
An apology there. Yes. I think there's some issue to do with your audio that you're going to rectify. Okay. Are we okay now? Okay, please continue.
Okay, so what I was saying is the challenge for DIG Lagat is a perception, public perception. And I say that for this reason. I was just reading through the paper and I saw a situation where some lady was arrested in Kinangop based on a complaint by her boss, and then she had a miscarriage in the police cell, which is also another case that is just weird. But you see, in that particular case, nobody is trying to point fingers at the guy who made the complaint as being involved in what happened to her. In this case, the reason there's a lot of fingers being pointed to him is because he's a boss in the police force, and now the complainant in this particular case. And I think there is a lot of soul searching within the police force that needs to be done on this, not just for this case, but in any other circumstance where you find yourself as a complainant in a case that has gone south. What do you do in that particular case? Can you continue being in office, or are you able to say that you're going to ring fence yourself from that particular investigation? Is it possible for the public to believe that you are not going in any way to interfere in how that particular case is being
in other jurisdictions? That is what happens. Is it that it's a different standard for Kenyans, that we insist we cannot step aside even in a case such as this?
And I think that's the problem. I think in the our Kenyan philosophy is that we never step aside. We never step aside for two reasons. One, the public perception when you step aside is that you're guilty. We don't have a situation, the public doesn't accept that you can step aside while you're innocent. So the assumption is that if you step aside, you're guilty. And that's why people refuse to step aside, to avoid a situation where you're assumed to be guilty. But in most jurisdictions, whether you're a judge, in any situation where there's a direct connection between you and the case, you would step aside. So this is that. Then there's also a conflict, Fred, of right versus popular at this moment in time. Right now, we are dealing with what is the most popular position for Lagat? Step aside. Is that the right way to go with this thing? And this is going to come from a situation of when I tried to imagine him. I read another story about Standard, some police officer showing up in Standard that day and wanting to know whether that fake story headline was from Standard. So you start wondering, boss, how much influence do you have as a DIG on this particular situation? And that's going to be quite something to investigate.
Let's take a look at it.